and welcome back. And today we will start with Aristotle. So thus far we have discussed on Socrates. We have also discussed on Plato. Now we turn to the next great Greek author and a Greek philosopher, Aristotle. Now these are the three great giants of Western philosophy: Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Now, in this lecture, I would try to limit myself to give you a context of Aristotle. You see, because we will be looking for we will be examining Aristotle's Politics. It's good. It would be wise if I give you the context in which we should try to understand Aristotle's Politics, without which I have a feeling that we may have a wrong idea and not properly understand Aristotle. You see, the reason why I'm doing this is quite simple, really. The thing is this. Now, when you usually read books on Aristotle, or be it books on Plato and the political philosophy of Socrates, what usually happens and what usually is done, which I think is very, very wrong, is that what the students or what you read is simply that whenever you talk about political philosophy of Socrates, of Plato, and of Aristotle, usually what happens is that you are usually given some textbook or some book written by an author, and there you'll get a very simplified version of what Aristotle was talking about, what Plato is talking about, or what Socrates is talking about, which I think is a great injustice to the ideas and philosophy of Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates. And the reason is because simply the fact that you can never simplify the ideas, right? And which is very, very wrong. For example, whenever you talk of Plato, the political philosophy of Plato, what you are usually told is that you are usually removed. You are not even given the context in which to properly understand the ideas, the philosophy of Plato. Rather, what you are directly, you're directly put in the midst of midst of Plato's Republic. And not only that, you don't go through the Republic properly. What you generally emphasize is that in most political philosophy classes is that you are usually told about Plato's Republic and how it is ruled by a philosopher king. And obviously that's a wrong term, because Plato never mentioned even once in Plato's Republic about philosopher king. He just mentions ruled by philosophers or philosopher rule, right? So and you come out taking the class, or you come out learning nothing. You just learn that Plato, Socrates Plato himself favored some rule by philosopher king, and there's a specialization of task, right, of army, of leaders, whatnot, and that's it. And that's a very simplified and in a very stupefying way of understanding Plato. Same thing with Aristotle. What happens is that students or readers are deprived of the essence of what Aristotle's philosophy is. Rather than try to understand Aristotle's politics in the context through which he wants us to understand. Instead of doing that, what happens is that you are told about the various the good form of government versus the bad form, the most perverted. In other words, you're simply told about kingship or monarchy, aristocracy, and polity, which are for Aristotle the good ones, and the perverted ones as tyranny, oligarchy, and democracy. And then you are just told about those things, and then the class just discusses about those things, and that is it. But I think that's a very wrong way of trying to understand these great Greek and Western philosophers. Mainly because whenever you deprive the philosophy of the context, then you deprive of the main. Then you're removing the essence of what they are trying to make us understand, or what they're trying to discuss. That's why if you have read my lecture, if you have watched my lecture, my video lecture on Socrates and also in Plato, I've given you the context. Not only the context, but also instead of going and reading the same standardized topic about how about the philosopher king, for example, in lectures regarding Plato, what I discuss in the video lecture is to give you context by looking into Meno, right, Plato's Meno, and by also looking into Republics, but not the usual books which are usually taught, but the Republic with regards to the Allegory of the Cave, Book 7, and Book 1, which deals with the idea of justice. So those things, if you know those things, if you know some of the key aspects about Plato's philosophy, then you can, even without having to do the tedious job of reading the whole rule by philosopher king, is kind of averted, which is kind of good for you because you understand it better. So much in the same way, because in the sense, Plato Socrates Plato Socrates would never, and then Plato himself would never take his I think he would never agree with the fact that society should be ruled by philosopher king. Obviously, he knows himself that is not possible. So if you read him literally, which is one of the main weaknesses of today's intellectuals in today's academia, is that we take everything literally. That's why we as teachers, most teachers nowadays, we tend to impart wrong education, on the part of the teachers towards the students, and we're doing a lot of disservice by doing so, by reading the classical text literally. That's just stupid, really. And if there are any teachers who are doing that, then they should just stop it. That's not how you do. That's not how you read. That's not how you teach great books to a young generation. And in fact, instead of enlightening them, you only stupefy them, right? You make them more foolish. So let's not do that. So that's the reason behind why I am doing if you think that the kind of lectures that I'm doing is kind of weird, it's weird because it is good. That's why it's weird. So that's why it's weird. But then it's good for you. You learn a lot. So much in the same way, here we go in Aristotle. We'll be looking at Aristotle's politics. But in order to understand what Aristotle was trying to make us understand, is that you cannot just read politics by itself and claim that I know exactly what Aristotle was trying to discuss in politics and what his actual opinions were, which by the way, which is wrong, right? It's like it's like literally wrong. There's no way of correcting your opinion, justifying what you've just said. So here we go. So in order to truly understand Aristotle's politics, we must understand his other book, and that book is Ethics, Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle, right? So for Aristotle, you cannot remove ethics from politics, right? You cannot remove it. Why? Because let me give you an idea about why this is so. You see, nowadays we have this modern political science, modern politics, modern society. We tend to believe that in politics, and as the way we see politics, is that there is no room for ethics at all, which, if you observe the way politics are conducted, you are right, you may be right. However, for Aristotle, you can never divorce ethics from politics. And the reason is this. You see, when Aristotle speaks of ethics, right, he simply means virtue, right? Or what in ancient Greek, or what in Greek term would be, in the Greek word for virtue would be arete, right? Arete. So arete. So by ethics means virtue. But what is virtue? Virtue simply is excellence, right? It means human excellence. excellent at doing certain things, excellent at doing things which you were told to do, right? So if you are a sweeper, you do an excellent job sweeping the room or sweeping the building. If I am a say for instance a plumber, then I am an excellent plumber, right? That makes me ethical, that makes me virtuous. I am a very virtuous person. Why? Because I can do things in an excellent manner. So much in the same way, virtue simply meant to excel, at things that you do, right? To be excellent, right? And so the reason why Aristotle emphasizes the essentiality of ethics in politics is mainly because you have an aim, right? Every state or every society has an aim, not just any other aim, but an ultimate aim. And that ultimate aim, that ultimate goal of any society or political organization, society obviously, is happiness. But that's not the right word. The Greek word is eudaimonia, right? It means it's eudaimonia. It means happiness. But then it does not literally mean it does not literally mean happiness. Rather, it means flourishing, to flourish, right? To prosper, to thrive, right? To bloom, to be strong, to be fit and healthy, in order and vigorous, right? That's what eudaimonia means, not happiness in modern sense, because nowadays we think happiness means like happy all the time, but that's not what Aristotle meant by happiness or eudaimonia. It simply means to thrive, right? To flourish, because you have to prosper, right? The ultimate aim of any society, of any political society, is to prosper, is to grow well, is to bloom, right? Like the blooming of flower, to be strong, to be healthy, right? Figuratively, obviously, to be healthy, to be vigorous, to thrive well, right? And to be fit. When it says fit, it means just morally, then emotionally fit, not just physically fit, but also emotionally, mental fitness, religious fitness, something like that. So Aristotle emphasizes the importance of ethics, right? And he sees ethics to be an indivisible part, right? You cannot divorce ethics from politics. If you speak of politics, ethics is there, whether we like it or not. Why? Because the ultimate aim, the final goal of any political society is eudaimonia, happiness. By happiness, it just means excellence or thriving, to prosper, to bloom, to be strong, to be healthy, to be vigorous. That's the whole aim of political society. That's the aim of politics. And you can only flourish, you can only be fit, you can only prosper, you can only be strong. A society can be healthy and vigorous and be in order and prosper and bloom only if they are virtuous, right? If the individuals that constitute the society are not ethical or not virtuous, then how can you expect society to prosper? How can you expect society to do well? How can you expect society to be strong and to thrive and develop and bloom, right? You can't expect that. It's a simple matter. For example, you see, whatever you do, you have to excel, right? If you don't excel, for instance, look at the modern society. In any kind of society that we now live in, you must somehow, how do you put it? You must excel in what you do. That's the only way society grows. That's the only way society can develop and bloom. Or forget about, or just remove it. Let's go down even to a micro level. Life of an individual, your life, my life. If you want to do well in life, you must excel in what you do. If you are studying to be a doctor, then you must excel in a subject that you like, right? If I'm if I truly care for my patients, say for instance I'm a doctor, then I must excel in what I do. That's the only way, that's the only way I can help others as well as help myself, obviously. So you see, so the thing is, for Aristotle, there has to be some sort of excellence you must be a virtuous person. But obviously, please remember, when we talk of virtues, it means excellence, right? It simply means excellence. You must excel as an individual. If I want to do well in life, I must excel in what I do. If I'm an artist, I must excel. If I'm a sports person, I must try to excel myself so that I can excel as a sportsman. If I'm a footballer, if I play tennis, or if I play whatnot, if I'm a swimmer or whatnot, I must excel. That's the only way I can develop myself, right? Make myself better and stronger and healthier and vigorous and whatnot, and hence I can be the best sportsman in the world. I can excel. So much in the same way, you must excel. Society must excel. So you can only have excellence. Society can only reach the eudaimonia. It can only attain happiness if the constituting elements, such as the individuals that constitute the society, must be ethical, must be virtuous, right? That's the only way you can be. In other words, it simply means living well, right? To put it in simple terms, if you think that what we have discussed so far is very confusing, it simply means this. It simply means the ultimate way to attain, the best way to attain society's ultimate aim, which is eudaimonia, which is to flourish, to excel. It's a way of living well. That's the ultimate aim, to live well, right? How do you ensure that people living in your society live well, right? And what do we mean by living well? At least so that they don't have to resort themselves to unethical behavior in order for them to survive. Not letting that happen is a good thing, right? That's how you excel. So, for instance, if the society is highly unequal, is highly corrupt, then how do you expect society to thrive? How do you expect your society to develop? How do you expect people living in your society to thrive, right? To prosper and to lead an ethical life? So you see, so that's the thing. So the ultimate aim and ultimate goal of politics itself is to ensure how do you make sure that people or the society or people in the society live well. That's the ultimate aim. Now, the issue about ethics comes over here. It becomes even more important, essential over here, and I want you to pay attention to this. The thing is this: when Aristotle speaks of virtue, right? When he speaks of virtue, we must remember, and you must remember this, is that it is something. It is not enough that you. It is not enough that you think to yourself that you are a good person. I mean, obviously that's important, but then that's not everything, right? You must not just. It is not being ethical or being virtuous. It's not the state of mind, right? It's not the state of mind. It's not the state of. It's not a state of mind, but it's an action. It is an act. To be ethical or to be virtuous or to excel, to achieve and attain human excellence, right? It requires action. It is an endeavor, right? A continuous one, a continuous endeavor that involves the very being of the person, right? What I'm trying to say is this. What Aristotle is trying to say is this, actually. The thing is this. You can't expect yourself to be an ethical person. For example, here's the thing. You are walking on the street, right? You go to downtown, and then there you are walking on the street, you're walking by on the street, obviously. And then you come by a beggar, right? Say for instance, a homeless man. So you give the homeless man, 5 rupees or 10 rupees. And then you think to yourself, I'm a very virtuous person, I'm a very ethical person. But that's not the case. That's not. And then imagine that you only do that once, right? And the question is this: just because you have given 10 rupees or 5 rupees to a homeless person, does that entitle you to be a virtuous person? Does that qualify you as a virtuous person, as an ethical person? The answer simply to Aristotle is no, you are not. You can't just do one act, right, for once, and then think that you have thus become a very good person or an ethical person or a virtuous person, which you are not. It requires you to do something always, all the time, and not something and you should do those things. You should be kind towards others, or helpful towards others, not just once or twice, but you should try to help others, or be nice to others, be kind to others, be helpful to others, always, every time, everywhere, in every moment of your life, right? You must do that. Only then can you be an ethical person. Otherwise, if you just help one person only one time in your life, right, that does not make you an ethical person. And this comes back to the issue, and if you remember closely, and if you have read, and if you actually did read Socrates, right? Socrates, I'm sorry, the Plato's Republic, book 1. If you remember Syphilis, right? If you remember Syphilis, Syphilis was trying to do good things, right? He was trying to help others. He was trying to, pay his, contribute his sacrifices to the gods. Why? Not because he wanted to do it, but because he did that so that he will not be punished by the gods, right? That's why. That's exactly what Aristotle is also talking about. He's saying, you see, a person like Syphilis, who does good things not because he wants to, but because he wants to avoid the punishment by the gods, that's not an ethical person. Same thing, you helping somebody once or twice in your life, it does not qualify you as a virtuous person, according to Aristotle, and he's right, and I agree. You are not. But you must be kind to others, you must be generous to others, helpful to others, right? Be helpful to others, be courageous, all the time, always, in every moment of your life, right? Only then are you a virtuous person, right? Helping somebody once or twice in your life does not qualify you as a virtuous person, and you are not. If you think that just because you have helped, just because you have given 10 rupees to some homeless person 3 or 4 times, 3 or 4 times in past 10, 20 years, it does not qualify you as a good person. You are just a superficial idiot, right? So here we go. Yeah. So that's what it is saying. So according to Socrates, ethical, virtuous behavior is always, you do it continuously, always, right? There's no such thing as there's no such thing as you do it once and then hence you are an ethical person. You are not. And so this brings to the key determining factor of what virtue is. For him, Aristotle, he sees virtues as something of a middle ground, right? Something like, the term he uses is golden mean, the mean, right? Right smack in the middle, right? The mean. By the mean, it simply means not too much, not too less, right? Not too excessive, right? And not too little, or not deficient and not too excessive, right? Again, I repeat, keep this in mind. Mean is right there at the center, right? Right there in the center between some excess, some deficiency, right? Excess and deficiency, and right there smack in the middle is the mean, the right amount. And so by this, it simply means this, right? For instance, he uses an example in Nicomachean Ethics, where he uses, for example, courage. For Aristotle, defines courage as virtuous, ethical. And why is it virtuous? Why is it ethical? It is virtuous because courage is right smack in the middle between cowardly and rashness, right? You are either cowardly is deficiency, rashness would be excessive, right? So courage is right there. So same thing as how do you put this? Liberality, right? To being a liberality is right there, smack in the middle between illiberal, right? That's too less, and lavish and wasteful. That's too much, right? Or being or you are either a self-controlled, disciplined person, temperance, or you are either insensible, which is too less, or spendthrift, you spend too much, right? So he sees virtue to be somewhere at the middle, right? At the middle ground. It's right there at the middle between two excessive. Between excesses and deficiency. Not too much, not too little. It's like this. Whenever you cook, right? If you're cooking something, whatever dish you cook. say for instance you're cooking something, and in order for the dish to be tasty, right, to make your dish, tasty, tasteful, you would not put too much spice, because if you put too much spices, then it just ruins the dish. Or you will not put too less of a spices, where you can't even taste what you're eating. So for a good cook, if you're a good chef, what you do is you make sure that you put the salt just right and the spices just right, not too much, not too little spices, not too much, not too little salt in the dish, right? For example, if you put too much salt on your dish, it's too salty, you can't eat it, right? If you put too little of a salt, again, it's just ridiculous, right? Who wants to eat food without salt? That's just stupid. So what you do is a good cook will always put the right amount of salt and the right amount of spices, not too much, not too little, just right? So much in the same way, ethics is that, according to Aristotle. Ethics is just right there smack in the middle, not too much of something, not too little of something. Courage, for instance, is virtuous. Why? Because you are not too rash, which is excessive, and you are not too cowardly, which is deficient, right? So the character of a man is also defined by this golden mean, i.e., it is right there smack in the middle. And of course, for Aristotle, it does not mean that all kind of behaviors can be put right there to be in the middle. In other words, you see, but Aristotle makes sure, he tells us explicitly that, you see, however, there are some sort of human behavior which are wrong. You cannot put them into this continuum where it says excess, deficiency, and then the golden mean. For instance, murder is murder, right? You cannot just, the right amount of killing doesn't work. Or stealing, if you steal, you steal, right? There's no right amount of stealing either. So so you can't so I hope you get my point. So for Aristotle, it's not either the ethics to be a virtuous person, right? To be a virtuous person is right just smack in the middle, right? You are courageous, you are temperamental, then you are liberal, you are magnificent, you are magnanimous, right? So those things are virtues, and you need these things in politics. Why? Because only when you exude such kind of ethical behavior, when you exude such kind of virtues in your actions, in your very being, then can you, as say for instance a leader, a statesman of a society, then can you truly lead your society towards attaining that ultimate goal of a political society, that is happiness. And if most of the leaders, most of the politicians of a society, in a society, are not virtuous, if they are either too spendthrift, or either too rash, or too cowardly, right, too insensible, too stingy, too wasteful, too vulgar, too vain, then how can you expect this kind of people to attain happiness, right, eudaimonia, for all the society, not for all the society, but for all the people in the society? So thus, for Aristotle, ethics becomes very, very essential. You cannot, politics is not possible without ethics. Ethics and politics always go together, right? Always go together. The moment you let go of ethics, you deprive politics of its soul. You can say that. I mean, that's what Aristotle means. He does not say it that way, but then that's what he's implying. Literally, it's the soul. The soul of politics is ethics. That gives meaning to politics. Otherwise, what's the point of politics? What's the point of ruling, right? What's the point of all this politics? You try to, different politicians, different political parties, they want to come to power. Why? Because they promise that they're going to make the society better, right? I.e., some ethical goals, some virtuous goals. Hence, if you remove if you remove ethics from politics, you're removing the soul from politics. You're removing the very essence, the very purpose, the very being of politics. If there's no ethics, then there's no point of politics. There's no point of ruling, right? There's no point of government. Why? Because it'll just be pure tyranny, right? So you have ethics precisely because you need ethics in politics. Without ethics, there is no purpose to politics. Otherwise, if there's no ethics, then all the politicians talk about, I'm going to bring this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's all a lie, right? Yeah, it is a lie, obviously, but then it's all a lie. At least some ethical aim, some virtuous aims, which political parties and political candidates, which they promise during the elections, they do promise these ethical, virtuous goals, because that's the whole purpose of politics, right? You are supposed to make your society better. And if the politicians and if the leaders are ethical, if they are virtuous, then it is possible to attain the ultimate purpose of society, ultimate purpose of political society, and that is to flourish, eudaimonia, right? To thrive, to bloom, to be strong, to prosper, right? To be healthy and vigorous and to be in order, right? In other words, you see, ethics is all about something, some noble appeal in your soul, right? That's the reason why, if you remember in Plato's Meno, Plato Socrates was trying to tell Meno that you can never attain what justice is or what virtue is, precisely because you don't have the kalon, right? You don't have it. You don't have the noble aspect, the nobler part of you, right? You don't appeal to that, and you must have that some sense of beauty, some sense of nobility, right? In order for you to truly grasp and understand what virtue is. So much in the same way, ethics in politics is like that. A virtuous politician has some sort of appeal, some sort of nobility, some sort of appeal to the some sort of kalon, right, or the noble and fine, right, kalon, some sort of beauty in his being, right, that appeals to a higher level of understanding, higher level of ethics and virtues. That's what makes a politician to work towards fulfilling the purpose of society, right? Of having a political society, and that's eudaimonia. So here we go. Yeah. So this is a very brief contextual understanding or context in order to truly understand Aristotle's politics. Please remember that for Aristotle, ethics is very, very essential. You cannot understand Aristotle's politics without ethics. His Nicomachean ethics, and by ethics it simply means virtue, it means excellent, right? To excel, to live well, and the whole purpose of politics is to make sure that society prospers, right? Flourishes, and you can only make sure the society flourishes only when you have leaders and politicians who are virtuous, right? I.e., they excel, i.e., they have that right amount of temperance, they have the right amount of courage, right amount of nobility, right amount of magnificence and magnanimity and liberality and self-control and discipline, right? Otherwise, if your leaders are chaotic, you can't expect society to fulfill its purpose, right? Or if your leaders are cowardly, then you are in a mess, right? So here we go. Yeah. So here it is. So Aristotle's politics. Please understand that ethics plays an essential role in Aristotle's politics. So so that's the context, and in the next video lecture we'll start with Aristotle's politics. Thank you.